Hello everyone and welcome to All This Tech. I created this channel because I enjoy watching people analyze, take apart and generally fool around with old hardware, especially computers, and I want to share my own exploits with the rest of the world. For this inaugural episode I have something quite special and I hope you enjoy it. When I first laid eyes on the Unisys 325 SL with its bare exterior, and having never heard of the brand Unisys before, I thought for sure that this thing was just a simple word processor. I figured that if it has a keyboard, a screen, and no I/O, it must be a word processor or something basic like that. But upon closer inspection, I began to realize how far off I was. This is a proper 640 by 480 monochrome display. This is a 3.5-inch high-density floppy drive. This is a dual PCMCIA card slot, and with a modem inside no less. And hidden behind this cover is all of the I/O I was looking for and didn't see at first, which includes VGA, printer, serial, and PS2 ports, plus a proprietary expansion port. Furthermore, this little compartment here contains a proper 120 MB hard drive, and this compartment here gives you access to the RAM and what appears to be a co-processor slot. And look at this, it comes with this charming removable trackball. It latches to the front of the machine, connecting to a proprietary port behind a little door. This whole thing is just delightful. It's a shame that this particular unit, which I'm borrowing from a friend, seems to have been quite mistreated by the years. Trying to research this machine only brings up a computer history museum page with little to no data and a couple of eBay listings equally unhelpful. Searching for Unisys brings up a lot of information about this company which I never heard of before, but nothing that would help me understand this computer any better. Playing around with the machine, before I started filming unfortunately, I managed to boot MS-DOS from floppies and install it on the awfully sounding hard drive. It loaded just fine, and I even got to play some Prince of Persia. But when I tried to install Windows 3.11, the hard drive actually gave up and stopped working entirely, and shortly the floppy drive followed. I didn't get to try out the trackball, and that makes me really sad. I tried to replace the hard drive with some other ones I had laying around, and they do get detected, but the system can't seem to read data from them. I suspect this machine works only with this specific model of drive for whatever reason. Also, I don't understand what's up with this floppy drive. It seems to have lost its will to live from one day to the next. Anyway, even without booting an OS, there's a couple of cool things I can show off about how this laptop works. First, that Vios configuration menu can be accessed at any time without restarting, which is super unusual to me. In the same manner, a battery gauge can be invoked. Of course, my battery is long dead. Also, the built-in display can be inverted at any time. Neat. Lastly, the VGA port seems to work perfectly, and it even has a shortcut key to switch between the built-in monitor and the external one. Without much more to see on the outside, let's take a look inside. There's a lot in here that looks strange to me, because I'm not super familiar with laptops of this era. For example, the hard drive. It's inside this caddy that can be easily ejected without tools. Inside the caddy, there's a 120 MB Quantum Go drive. It has a standard laptop IDE connector adapted through a short ribbon cable to the proprietary caddy connector. A couple of screws in the base of the unit release the keyboard, under which you can find the floppy drive and a small board with the trackball connector, a couple of LEDs, and a CR2032 battery. At first I thought this must be the CMOS battery, but later on I found a much more era-appropriate nickel-cadmium battery located in a much more logical place in the motherboard, so no idea what this thing is for. Anyway, to continue the teardown you need to remove a couple of screws here, and then remove the entire screen, which will give you access to the last two screws holding this thing together. But before you can take the screen off completely, you need to remove the installed RAM module. Here's a closer look at this thing. It features this dual connector interface which I've never seen before. I have no idea if this design is standard or proprietary, and I failed to find anything about it. I can't even tell how much memory it holds. Under the RAM is the screen connector, which you need to unscrew to disconnect. With the screen out of the way, you can disconnect the ribbon from the power switch and screen controls and remove this entire cover. As you can see, the board that holds all of this stuff is actually separated from the main board and communicates using these two connectors. This design pleases me to no end. Under this board, we get to see the rest of the computer. This here has to be the processor, which I believe is a 386, but I can't find any actual information about this chip. I'm beginning to think that either this machine is absurdly obscure, or I'm really bad at this. Here's the Western Digital video controller, which I believe handles 256K of video memory, and I better stop here, because I'm clearly dealing with stuff way outside the realm of my knowledge. By the way, at one point while making this video, I did stumble upon what appears to be the exact same machine in a different color and under a different brand. It's in this Hackaday post about the possibility of installing Debian on it. The author mentions a model name which, as with my machine, doesn't give back many useful search results. He also mentions the general specs of the laptop, as you can see right here. The big obvious difference with mine being the color display. The fact that there's a model almost identical but by a different brand makes this whole thing even more intriguing. Also, I just found this new post on the Vintage Computer Federation forums about someone that just bought one of these computers. In fact, I think he bought it from one of the eBay listings I mentioned before. I created an account on the forums to ask the author about the machine, but I cannot delay this project any longer, so I'll leave his reply for a follow-up video. And I guess that's all I can say about this computer for now. It's a shame I didn't get to play more with it before it died. If I manage to get the floppy or the hard drive working, I'll be sure to revisit it. Also, if you happen to know anything interesting about this machine that I'm missing or got completely wrong, please do leave a comment below. Well, I hope you enjoyed this quick look at what I think is a rather interesting and delightful piece of tech. So have a nice one and see you next time.